In the midnight glow where the stars align, we lose ourselves in the rhythm divine. Underneath the sky painted with dreams we're chasing.
Welcome back, everyone, to As Above, So Below, Conversations Under the Stars. I'm Jody.
And I'm Mari.
Today we're stepping into Gemini season, which officially begins when the sun moves into Gemini on May 20th. And honestly, after Taurus season, it feels like a breath of fresh air. Taurus asked us to slow down, ground, stabilize, and connect to what felt safe and steady. And Gemini comes in and starts us moving again. Thoughts, conversations, ideas, learning, social energy, everything begins to flow faster. Gemini season always reminds us that life doesn't have to feel so heavy all the time. There's this invitation to stay curious instead of try to have everything figured out. Taurus season helped us root into values. It's about embodiment, stability, comfort, and building foundations. Gemini season shifts us into that movement, communication, curiosity, learning, and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we move from season to season, I like to think about the signs as building on one another. And as far as like the lessons that we're learning, instead of leaving one season completely behind, I feel like they build on each other. So we have that passion and ignition movement of Aries, and we take that and then we learn how to ground it through Taurus season and take care of our nervous system and balance that, right? And then we can take some of that stability that we've learned through Taurus season and that nervous system reset and caring for ourselves in that slower way, and remember and hold that as we move into Gemini season, that we don't get too scattered and too airy, right? It's kind of a building essence. But Gemini season's essence, the archetypes of Gemini, are about the messenger, the student, the storyteller, the trickster, which is an interesting energy. We are going to be doing our deep dive on Mercury in 2 weeks as the follow-up, our deep dive into the planets sort of series that we're doing. We're going to be doing Mercury in a couple of weeks, and we're going to talk more about that archetype of the trickster with Mercury, which obviously rules Gemini. Gemini's essence is also the bridge builder. So core themes here are curiosity, communication, learning, flexibility, social connection, and all things mind, information exchange, mental stimulation, those types of things.
Gemini is an air element, and air signs connect through thought, communications, ideas, learning, perspectives, and that Gemini energy moves through the nervous system and the mind quickly. And then when it's balanced, Gemini brings in curiosity, communication, open-mindedness, creativity, socially connected. When it's imbalanced, it can be overthinking, anxiety, mental overload, scattered focus, and nervous system overwhelm.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was talking about, taking the lessons of Taurus and remembering and holding that and embodying that still as we move into Gemini, because we need that energy to kind of ground some of this air energy so that we don't end up in that place of being very scattered and overthinking and ungrounded, right? It's about balance. But this does help things move a little quicker and helps us connect with one another. Air is invisible, yet it connects everything, right?
Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury governs communication, learning, thinking, technology, teaching, conversations, writing, any information exchange. So Gemini asks, what am I learning? What conversations matter right now? What ideas are trying to emerge? Am I overthinking instead of moving? Boy, that's one that hits home for me.
Mm-hmm.
And not every answer appears through thinking. Some answers appear through movement.
Yeah, as a Gemini, I'm sure you have a lot of experience with this energy. Do you have any, do you relate to all the things that we're talking about kind of on a daily basis?
Yes, because I have 3 planets in Gemini. So I really relate. And I can get stuck in that overthinking versus that movement of taking action and getting things done.
And do you find that movement helps you think? Do you do some of your best thinking when you're, say, on a walk or something like that?
I think the type of movement I would say is like the taking action movement, where I can think about it and plan it and come up with all these wonderful ideas. And then I just keep spinning on that wheel of ideas and what I could do and what I could add in and what I could create. And then I get stuck in overwhelm. And like a typical Gemini, I change my mind. I doubt myself. And then that whole taking action part gets eliminated because I've then talked myself out of it. Where what I found is if I take those ideas and I take action and actually do something to make it happen, even if it's just one little step, then that helps me kind of anchor in and complete tasks versus just thinking about completing them.
That makes a world of sense, actually, because I think about Gemini's polarity, Sagittarius, and we talk about the polarity as being like if you are struggling with a certain sign, its shadow aspects, the medicine is in its opposite. And Sagittarius is a fire sign and very much about taking the action, taking the step, going out into the world, doing the thing, right? And so that polarity makes a lot of sense. Like if Gemini's getting stuck in ruminating and going like, there's so many options, I can't choose and I don't know where to go, that Sagittarius holds the medicine of, but it's time to go and to move and to take a step. I like that a lot. It's a good reflection for everybody as we move into this energy, because you may find yourself in that spot and you can remember that the medicine for any sign is in its polarity, right? They're kind of helping one another along.
Yes.
Beautiful. Gemini season. I'm excited for Gemini season, but partly because of the mental. I'm a very mind-oriented person and I love to learn and I am a curious person, but also because of this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere is just really beautiful. Everything's blooming. I just took in 3 big bouquets of blossoms from my yard and put them around my house. And it's just such a lovely time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm
I agree.
excited that it's here.
All the flowers, everything turns green. The sun is shining. We're out of that cold weather. This might not apply to everybody around the world, but for us,
correct.
That's where we're coming from.
We love all of you Southern Hemisphere folks. I heard somebody the other day say that they don't talk about the spring equinox and the autumn or like summer solstice. They just say the Aries equinox and rather than saying spring, summer, fall, because they want to include everybody around the world. And I really like that, actually, because we don't want to just be Northern Hemisphere focused. We love all of you below the equator as well. But yeah, our personal experience here is
seasonal,
the quickening.
Really.
Yeah, the quickening is what comes to mind because of the energy of Gemini and also the quickening that like you see it happening outside as well. So, yeah.
Now we're going to talk about Gemini through the houses. So this is when you want to grab your chart and take a look at where Gemini falls in your chart. If it's in the first house, this is identity and self-expression. So Gemini here expresses through communication, adaptability, and curiosity.
And what might be coming up for you during this season is a desire to express yourself more openly and experiment with how you present yourself, new insights about who you're becoming. You can work with this by trying on new ways of expressing yourself, sharing your thoughts and ideas more openly. Ask yourself, who am I becoming and how do I want to express that more authentically?
An essential oil that would help support Gemini in the first house would be wild orange. Wild orange is great for supporting confidence, self-expression, creativity, and emotional warmth. And a quick little side note, if you're not familiar with essential oils, a good way to use an essential oil would be to put it in a diffuser. If you have an essential oil diffuser, you can grab your wild orange, put 1 to 3 drops of oil in the diffuser and just diffuse it. And that's going to support that energy for you with Gemini in the first house. You can create a blend in a roller bottle by adding 5 drops of wild orange and filling up the rest of the bottle with fractionated coconut oil, which is coconut oil with the fat taken off so it stays liquid. That's why it works so well in essential oil rollers, and you can wear that as a perfume. Otherwise, just taking a little bit of fractionated coconut oil, a drop or 2 of wild orange, and applying it on quickly that way also would work.
I am currently diffusing wild orange, and it is lovely.
Oh, yes. It's one of my favorites, too. So refreshing.
Yeah, I have a mix right now of wild orange, lavender, and patchouli in my diffuser. And It's grounding, energizing, and calming all at once.
Yes. That's a great blend. Okay, next we have our second house. So if Gemini is in your second house, this is money and self-worth. So you may have shifts around money, values, or confidence.
Mhm. Things that might be coming up for you might be new financial ideas or opportunities, a reevaluation of your beliefs about money, worth, self-worth, compensation, the compensation you get for your efforts. So you can work with this by writing down creative income ideas. Review your beliefs about what you deserve. Ask yourself, what stories about money and self-worth am I ready to rewrite? I really like the write down your ideas bit, because one thing that with all of the kind of scattered energy of Gemini, possibly scattered, I shouldn't say it's always scattered, but possibly scattered, it helps to get things down on paper. And that's just an overall working with Gemini. Like, it's easy to have a thought come and go, but if you get it down, the things are really flowing right now. So write that stuff down.
Yeah, brain dumping is wonderful. Okay, the essential oil that would help support Gemini in the second house would be frankincense. It helps create that grounding, clarity, and connection to inner worth and stability. Moving on to the third house, this is communication and learning. So what might be coming up is busy schedules, conversations, learning, writing, reconnecting.
Yes, Gemini is very at home here in the third house. Your mind is coming alive during this time. So you're going to have increased mental activity, likely. All of us will, but especially for you. Communication and inspiration. A strong desire to learn, write, teach, or share your ideas. As you can tell, in the third house here, the things that are coming up are very Gemini-related things, because the third house is so cohesive with Gemini. Working with this, start journaling or creating content. Have the conversations you've been putting off. That's a big one. Ask yourself, what wants to be expressed through me?
And oil support for the third house would be spearmint. It supports mental clarity, communication, focus, and fresh thinking. Fourth house, if you have Gemini in the fourth house, it's home and emotional security. And what might be coming up if you have Gemini here is family conversations and emotional processing.
Yes, this is about rewriting your inner story. So things that might come up are conversations about home, family, and your emotional needs, new insights into inherited beliefs and early conditioning. Working with this, journal about family patterns. Talk openly about what helps you feel safe. Ask yourself, what inner story about home and belonging is ready to change?
Oil support for the fourth house would be lavender. This calms the nervous system and supports your emotional safety, rest, and regulation. Fifth house is creativity and joy. So what might be coming up if you have Gemini in the fifth house is more creativity, playfulness, dating, hobbies, or just fun in general.
Yeah, a surge of creative ideas and inspiration could be coming up for you right now. This is my personal Gemini placement, so maybe that's another reason why I'm excited about Gemini season is the fifth house is the fun house. I actually wanted to mention as well that if you are looking at your chart in Placidus or one of the other house systems that is not equal house systems, like a whole sign, you may have Gemini ruling two houses, which is also my personal experience. So, listen to both, because it might be, those themes might be coming up for you in two houses, mine is fifth and sixth. So things that might be coming up, again, increased romance, flirtation, or playful self-expression. Fun. This is fun, playful energy. Follow your curiosity. Start a creative project. I plan on doing some watercolor painting. I'm working on creating my own oracle deck. So that has really been an inspiration for me lately. And this energy is really going to, I think, help me produce a lot more of that. I've just been more inspired to sit down recently and play with that. So ask yourself, what brings me joy and how can I express it more freely?
Oil support for the fifth house would be citrus bliss. And this encourages joy, creativity, emotional lightness, and playful energy. On to the sixth house. If you have Gemini in the sixth house, this is routines and wellness. So what might be coming up for you is changes in your schedule, work, habits, or health routines.
Mm-hmm. There may be a desire to improve systems, your workflows and habits, new ideas for your health, productivity, and organization. Working with this, simplify and refine your routines. I think that that's a key one to simplify. If you have Gemini that ruling your sixth, it's easy to get a little overly ambitious about your routines and to scatter your focus. Learn a new tool or method and ask yourself, how can I work smarter, not harder?
Right. Oil support for the sixth house would be peppermint. This supports focus, motivation, mental energy, and productivity. Seventh house, if you have Gemini in the seventh house, this is all about relationships. So what might be coming up is important conversations with partnerships, and this is romantic partnerships, but it can also be business partnerships, any type of partnership.
Definitely. Greater clarity around your relationship dynamics and expectations might be coming in for you. Working with this, you can speak openly and listen with curiosity. I love that. Just in general with relationships, speak your truth with love, but then be open to listening with that curiosity of the other person's perspective instead of judgment, instead of automatically thinking, it's not the way I think, therefore it's incorrect. Get curious about why someone else might be thinking that way. Why is that their perspective, right? Instead of automatically going to judgment. Be clear with your relationships, clarify what you need, and ask what conversations could deepen understanding in my relationships.
Oil support, if you have Gemini in the seventh house, would be balance blend. And this is a doTERRA blend. It supports emotional grounding, harmony, and relationship stability. On to the eighth house. So if you have Gemini in the eighth house, this is all about transformation and emotional depth. So what might be coming up is healing conversations, trust themes, emotional intensity,
new psychological insights and breakthroughs. You can work with this by talking about subjects you usually avoid. That eighth house asks us to reach into what makes us uncomfortable because there's important lessons for us there. So research what fascinates you, and maybe that is subjects of the eighth house, some, esoteric or occult psychology, those types of things. Ask yourself, what truths am I ready to explore more deeply?
Essential oil support for the eighth house would be a blend called Console, and this really supports grief work, emotional releasing, vulnerability, and healing. Ninth house is expansion and wisdom. So what might be coming up here is more travel, learning, spirituality, or perspective shifts.
New philosophical or spiritual insights that could be coming up. Working with this, read, study, take a class. That's something you probably already, with this placement, are drawn to. If you have Gemini in the ninth house, you are someone who absolutely loves those things already. Stay open to perspectives that challenge you. With the ninth house, because of its energy of sort of that Sagittarius, which is Gemini's opposite, right? We talked about that. It's very important for people who have Gemini ruling the ninth to stay open and not dig your heels in on being right? Ask yourself, what new ideas are expanding my understanding of life?
Oil support for the ninth house would be frankincense. Frankincense supports spiritual connection, wisdom, grounding, and perspective. On to the 10th house. If you have Gemini in the 10th house, this is all about career and visibility. So what might be coming up is career conversations, teaching, leadership, visibility.
New ideas about your career direction. Working with this, share your expertise publicly. It's a great time to share what it is that you're good at. People will be receptive often during this time to hearing what you have to say. Create content or network connections. This is all about other people in the workplace, other people you work with, your clients, that sort of thing. Ask yourself, what message am I here to bring into the world?
Support here would be Motivate blend. This supports confidence, momentum, courage, and forward movement. Next, we have the 11th house. So if your Gemini is in the 11th house, this is all about community and future vision. So some things that might be coming up is networking, friendships, collaborations, future planning.
This is all about mental stimulation through community. So reach out and connect. Connect with people. Maybe, Think about joining a new group of people, branch out a little bit, share your ideas with others. Ask yourself, who inspires me and what future am I building with them?
Essential oil support for the 11th house would be bergamot. Bergamot supports connection, emotional openness, confidence in social settings, and heart-centered communication. Okay, 12th house, if you have Gemini in the 12th house, this is all about rest and reflection. This is mental processing, dreams, intuition, and rest.
Yeah, you might be having increased dream activity and intuitive messages coming in, which is exciting, but also a need for quiet reflection and mental rest because of that 12th house aspect, right? So work with this by journaling your dreams and inner insights. I think I have something about journaling or writing it down as working with it on all of these, but reduce mental noise and spend time in silence. Go within for those answers and to kind of quiet that mental chatter. Ask yourself, what is my deeper wisdom trying to communicate?
Essential oil support for the 12th house is serenity. Serenity helps support that rest, nervous system regulation, and emotional releasing, and also sleep.
Right. Yes. It's all about staying open to new possibilities, staying curious, and trying to balance all of that with being grounded this month. And with that, we are going to look at a few of the bigger transits or the astrological energy, what the planets are up to this month in Gemini season to add on to our theme. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about actually started on May 7th. So it's been active here for a bit. I believe this episode is coming out on May 18th. But Pluto is officially in retrograde in Aquarius and will be until October 13th. So we've got about a 4 or 5 month window of retrograde with Pluto. And so what are the themes of this? Deep inner transformation, reviewing power dynamics, reassessing long-term changes, integrating psychological breakthroughs, and questioning collective systems and structures. So whenever there's a retrograde, those are kind of the key words, right? Review, reassess, integrate. It's like a backtrack to make sure that we got it, kind of an energy, right? It gives us a chance to, and even we've talked about that with Mercury retrograde too. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually an opportunity, I think, to help you go over everything that you've been learning as you're downloading this new curriculum, right? Because I still consider Pluto and Aquarius a new curriculum because of how slow it moves. Yes, it has been here since 2024, kind of back and forth. We had, bouncing back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius, but it's still pretty new. So we're learning a lot still about this energy, what Pluto and Aquarius is teaching us. And this is a time for just reassessing and reflecting on that. So the retrograde's asking, where am I still giving my power away? What outdated identities am I shedding? What transformation is taking root beneath the surface? So a Pluto retrograde is less about forcing change and more about realizing how deeply you already have been changed by this placement. Okay. So as of yesterday, actually, May 17th, Mercury, the ruling planet of Gemini, is already moved into Gemini. He jumped into Gemini before we even had the sun reach Gemini, which will be on the 20th, like we talked about. So Mercury is coming home to the sign it rules. This obviously, and Virgo, it rules Virgo as well, but it is very at home here. This transit is just piling on to all of the energy of Gemini season because of the rulership. So thinking, writing, speaking, teaching, networking, all of the things we've been talking about. The lights are coming on in our minds during this time. But as of today, May 18th, is kind of a big day in the astrology for the month because Mercury is exactly conjunct Uranus in Gemini. And we haven't had this energy of, any of the planets really, conjunct Uranus and Gemini for, I think it's like 77 years, something like that. So this is a real breakthrough energy today and the days that follow, because this energy is not just for one day, but it's very potent today, is about breakthrough. breakthrough energy. And I would just encourage everyone to harness this. You may be having sudden insights, breakthrough ideas, unexpected conversations coming up, innovative thinking, aha moments, brilliant ideas, breakthroughs in something that you've been struggling with, whether it be trying to break an old habit or, you've been stuck on a project and you just can't get past a certain spot. The energy today is breakthrough energy, no matter how you look at it. So and so much about today is very supportive, because not only do we have that conjunction, which is electric and fast and liberating you from stale, outdated patterns and outdated beliefs and thoughts, but then we also have this really lovely energy of both Venus and Mars shifting. They just shift at the same exact time into new signs this evening of May 18th. Just within a couple of hours of one another. Venus moves from Gemini into Cancer, while Mars moves from Aries into Taurus. And as they enter their new signs, Venus and Mars form an exact sextile at 0 degrees of Cancer and Taurus, creating this harmonious connection between these two archetypal relationship planets. So together, these placements emphasize emotional and physical security, gentle but steady action, harmonizing desire and affection, building relationships and goals slowly and sustainably. So you can see how supportive and kind of yummy this is with all of that electric breakthrough energy. This kind of grounds it and adds this softness to that at the same time. This can feel like a desire for greater stability in your relationships, motivation to build something lasting. So you get this breakthrough energy, but also let's make this last. Let's hold on to it. Let's create something stable here out of this. Acting from a place of calm and care rather than urgency. What a beautiful balance to all of that electricity, right? So Venus and Mars symbolize the inner feminine and masculine principles within all of us. And this alignment supports bringing action into harmony with your values, balancing receptivity and initiative, and creating from a place of emotional grounding and embodied presence. So the heart wants safety and the will wants stability. So together that reminds us that what is built slowly and lovingly often lasts longest. So what great energy to be in today. Really nurture yourself today and explore what might be breaking open and breaking through for you.
Okay. And then on May 21st, we have the Sun conjunct Uranus also. So this is a lot of the same themes that Mari just talked about with that Mercury. So we're going to have sudden realizations, breakthroughs, unexpected change, awakening type energy. This could be unexpected conversations, sudden clarity, changing plans, or feeling ready to break out of old routines. From an evolutionary perspective, this transit helps wake us up to where we've outgrown limitation. So sometimes change arrives before we're fully prepared for it, but it always arrives at the right time. And then we also have Venus square Neptune. This can be emotional fog, idealism, sensitivity, creativity, so confusing emotions, mixed signals, romanticizing situations, or difficulty seeing clearly. This transit asks us to balance intuition with grounding reality. And not everything unclear is wrong, but not everything imagined is true either. And then on May 26th, we have the Sun trine Pluto. This is empowerment, transformation, honest conversations, emotional depth. This can feel like feeling more confident making important changes or speaking truthfully. The evolutionary layer is this energy supports deep alignment and personal transformation. Transformation begins with honesty. And then on May 29th, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, which is Gemini's opposition. This is truth versus information, curiosity versus wisdom, mental overload versus inner knowing, perspective shifts, releasing, overthinking. Gemini gathers information and asks questions and explores possibilities. It's like Gemini says, let me learn more first And Sagittarius energy comes in and it seeks wisdom, truth, meaning, and lived experiences. And Sagittarius says at some point you have to trust what you know. So this is where that balance comes into play. Like, I don't know enough versus trust what you know. So that opposition of the full moon can create tension between that thinking and trusting, information and wisdom, logic and intuition, questions and belief. Again, Gemini likes to gather facts, and Sagittarius searches for the meaning. And some essential oil support for that full moon would be spearmint, frankincense, adaptive, and wild orange. And then we have the new moon in Gemini on June 14th. This is fresh ideas, new beginnings, communication, creativity, networking, learning. This would be a good time to start a project, launch ideas, write or teach, create content, begin new conversations, or follow inspiration. A question you may want to ask yourself is, what new idea or direction am I ready to explore? And essential oils for the new moon in Gemini would be peppermint, lavender.
Yes. And also just one thing I was going to mention briefly, it's more of a collective energy. It can be very personal as well, but Uranus, which we're talking about a lot, right, recently, because of it being in Gemini and all of these things, it's actually also forming a square to the nodes all through Gemini season. And really, to me, this is about collective course correction, destabilization of old patterns, sudden karmic turning points, and breaking free from conditioned thinking. And, you know, many of those descriptive words, Uranian in general, but as it's squaring the nodes, there's extra potency to the nodal lessons that we've been going through that we're about to switch into a new nodal pair very quickly here in Cancer season that will actually switch. But with the North Node in Pisces right now and the South Node in Virgo, we're letting go of overanalysis, perfectionism, control, and learning to trust and surrender and really hold our intuition higher than all of that perfectionism and control and more of that mind stuff, actually, because Virgo is also ruled by Mercury, much like Gemini. So yeah, just something I wanted to mention, that square is going to be active all month, and the universe may disrupt familiar thought patterns so you can align with a more intuitive and authentic path here. Sometimes life scrambles the map because your soul is ready for a completely new destination. So I thought I would mention that. And just to kind of do a quick summary of everything we just talked about, Gemini season, Pluto retrograde deepens internal transformation. Uranus electrifies the mind. Mercury and the Sun in Gemini accelerate communication. Uranus square the nodes creates an evolutionary turning point. The Sagittarius full moon reveals truth. The Gemini new moon opens new pathways. This season reminds us that a single insight, one unexpected conversation, or a completely new perspective can alter the trajectory of our lives.
And just a reminder to stay curious, stay open, follow the conversations, ideas, and little breadcrumbs that show up right now because they may be leading somewhere important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I always kind of finish up with ways to work with Gemini, no matter where your Gemini placement is. And I know we touched on a lot of this, but I'm just going to go over a few things. This is for everybody. Curiosity keeps us growing. Certainty can close your mind. So ask more questions. Be willing to change your perspective. Curiosity is often wiser than certainty. Write things down. I emphasize this a lot, so I'm not going to keep going into it, but Gemini thrives on processing ideas externally. That's why writing things down can be so helpful. Start the conversation, meaning communication creates movement. Say what needs to be said. Reach out. Ask for clarification. Don't just hold it in. Communicate this month.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend and be sure to like and follow us so you don't miss out on the next one.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for joining us under the stars today. We hope you're leaving feeling inspired, grounded, and more connected to your inner truth.
And if you loved this episode, we would be so grateful if you would subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone you love.
If you're ready to explore your soul's path through psychological, evolutionary astrology, and personal astrological coaching, you can find Mari at yoursoulpurposeastrology.com or follow her on Instagram and Facebook at Your Soul Purpose Astrology.
And if you're ready to illuminate your birth chart and explore how essential oils can support your emotional and energetic alignment, you can find Jody at earthandskyessentials.com or at Earth and Sky Essentials on Facebook and Instagram.
And remember, your soul is always guiding you.
The magic starts within.